So we're nearly ready to put the 2AR FXE into the MR2 Spyder Roadster, whatever you want to call it. And we just thought this would be a good chance for a last tour round of the engine to see what's been done to it to fit it into the MR2 using a lot of bits that we can find not in America. So we've already done some videos on the linkage kits and the conversion for the linkage kits for the gearbox for the EB60 because of the Valvematic gearbox. So that's all pretty straightforward. We've got the Frankenstein Motorworks mount and obviously his linkage kit, and then the two custom brackets. I've got a custom inlet manifold that's made out of a Nissan Pulsar manifold with a Lexus GS throttle body off one of the big V8 GS's. We're using the front drive shaft here that's off a RAV4 hybrid, but the bracket has been cut and re-welded and a new mount at the bottom made up to fit. We're running a Bosch knock sensor instead because we're on ECU Master Black, MU Black. So we've got a better knock sensor that's calibrated for starters. We're running the engine harness off the Lexus NX 300 hybrid that's been modified to suit. So all of the wires have been stripped back for EGR assemblies and everything else, just the bare essentials is left in. So like the VVT valve, the original coil packs, the cam sensor, the original NX300 injectors, the original crank sensor, custom Bosch knock sensor, original temperature sensor. We've got a Bosch wideband sensor LS 4.2 in the Frankenstein inlet manifold. We've got a starter motor from, I think it was a Steamer or a Privia, something like that. But that bolts into the same bell housing fitment as a lot of the other E-series transmissions have the same starter motor flange. We've got an alternator. Let's spin this pallet truck around a little bit so we can see. So here we have an alternator from an Steamer, which fits onto the Highlander, Toyota Highlander American thermostat housing with a Frankenstein thermostat housing. We've got a custom dipstick off an MR2 that's been recurved to suit. We've got the Frankenstein engine mount, top mount. I've got an aftermarket crank pulley because the hybrid ones are too narrow, so you need to use a proper pulley off a non-hybrid engine. We've got the Frankenstein Motorworks pulley, idler pulley bracket down here. We've got a nice new water pump. I've had to modify this thermostat housing a little bit, which I've already done a video on that previously, just to make this alternator fit. But this is a very low profile alternator, if you see. It literally sticks out the same as the thermostat housing. So that clears all of that. We've got the exhaust cam swap in here that's got a second inlet manifold cam, and then we're running the solid sprocket, which we've done a video on that previously. We've got the counterbalance shaft out of the bottom end is removed, and the oil gallery is all blocked up. What is there to say? We're going to have to make a custom downpipe as well, but that's for a later video. We're going to have to make some sort of clutch line to go from here to the car. We're running the EB60 reverse sensor, so the reverse lights will still work. The harness has had to have a charge cable made up to join the two together. And then the main power feed from the car will connect to here. So in the car itself, we've got the one cable out the factory harness for the power. We've removed all of the engine harness out of that top grommet. My battery is mounted under the bonnet, so I've just got one power feed from my battery here. We've got Frankenstein motor mount there. What is there to say, really? For the wiring of this will all be pretty straightforward, and it'll all be wired up in here, because between those two connectors that came out of the ECU and these two connectors here, you've got your starter motor actuator in here, you've got your main relay, you've got your fan relay. Everything comes into this connector, and these two connectors. Everything you need is here to hook into every system that you want. Engine warning light, the bean lines, everything's in there. So the main $1 million question is, will my inlet manifold clear the cross member here? I have my doubts. I think it's going to touch, but we might have to do a bit of grinding and cutting to make that fit, but it'll be alright. So anyway, this is going to go in here tonight, so there'll be a follow-up video in a couple of days to see, well, it might be running and cranking, but we're going to have to tune it from scratch. So anyway, the harness, this harness is all built out of the Lexus NX200 hybrid harness, but we've got in this is what's going to go into the car, but we've got like our drive-by wire set up for an accelerator, for a throttle pedal here. We've got a clutch pedal switch, we've got brake light switches. I have built this harness thinking forwards as much as possible to every wire that's going to be needed to make the car run and work, so hopefully we won't have to go backwards. Other things we needed was a temperature sensor, which I've calibrated a temperature sensor with my multimeter and a fridge and stuff to build as a curve for that, and I've calibrated out the engine temperature sensor too. So all we've got to do really is hose it up and make some hoses that go from the fuel feed here to the fuel rail, which again, this is the Lexus fuel rail, so that'll be a nice easy job. And then we need a couple of coolant pipes. That's for our thermostat, our heating system in the car. And then we've got the top hose and then the thermostat hose on the bottom, which Frankenstein Motorworks supply some hoses for that, which fit, and some heat wrap for them, so that'll all work. So there we go. We'll get this in tonight. Got a mate coming over to give us a lift, and we'll see if it all works.